David, let me start with you. You were an editor at The Late Show with David Letterman, which is where you met Steve. When did you know that this was going to be your first film?
Well, when I worked at The Late Show, I didn't even know that he collected these. So it was after I left the show for Los Angeles that he sent me a CD with some of these songs. And it said, "Welcome to one of my worlds." And even then, I didn't listen to it right away because I thought, corporate songs, that sounds so boring.
What a drag.
Yeah. But then I finally listened to it, and I heard the song "My Bathroom." And Steve calls that the gateway drug. And it's true. And somewhere, it was like maybe right around the time the book came out and things started to get hot on that, I thought, there's something going on here. And then we started to just talk to some of the composers, and he would get teary when he would talk about them. And then I thought, okay, I've got a story.
So, Steve, let me ask you, you spent all those years at The Late Show, which, strikes me as a kind of white-hot center of cynicism and snark, and we see in the film that the records were originally brought out just to kind of have a laugh at. When did it kind of change for you that this wasn't something just to be cynical about?
I think by the time I had 5 or 6 of them, and I actually realized I was looking forward to getting to certain record stores to see if I could find other ones, it sort of tipped over. We used a few more on the show, but at some point I realized I don't care if none of these ever get used in the show again. This is personal now. And it was right around that same time when I first started trying to track down the composers. Like, I'd seen the name Hank Beebe on like 2 or 3 of these, and I thought, damn, these are good. Who is this guy? Where can I find him? And there was very little. It was just the dawn of the internet age. It took a while, but I tracked him down. And like all these people, he was absolutely bewildered about who I was, how I had found him, what I wanted to talk about. But the cynicism of The Late Show, yeah, it's there. But great people worked there who really did want to do a great job. And I think that was a kind of baseline that I was building out of even for this project.
Ozzy and Dava, can you talk about that last musical number that you staged before the credits?
Oz, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I mean, when we were discussing the story and the structure, we just had this amazing dream. Wouldn't it be great, but also impossible to have all our real friends come together in this amazing musical number? And we were able to do it. And I mean,
the thing about the musical number for me is that Steve starts in this very cynical place, and it's a complete 180 from the end, where the least cynical thing you can do is have a touching musical number like the Muppet movie,
Yeah.
So, and to have Hank Beebe write the lyrics,
Yeah.
you wrote the lyrics, to have Hank do the music, it was just this kind of magical thing.
It was a struggle over many months to figure out what we wanted to say in this song and how to crystallize it and how to get it to some diamond hardness that worked. And we went down some wrong paths, but God bless Hank Beebe at age 91 when we gave him that lyric. And he called me like 4 days later and said, all right, I'm going to play you something over the phone. And dun 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 dun. And I said, I'm going to be singing that all day now, you madman. So he pulled a rabbit out of the hat there, and there were so many wonderful, lucky ways that things could have gone badly and didn't, over and over and over again over many years. So just 1,000 ways this just feels magical to me.
Tracing the history of this, how far have you pushed back the origin of the industrial musical?
There were antecedents of it early in the 20th century. I have a copy of an IBM convention booklet from 1941, and I know there were ones earlier than that. They were songs that everyone would have to sing together. It was not a performance on stage. You got your booklet and you all had to sing the company song, like, I've been working on the railroad, except I really like IBM. It was awful, but there was the stirrings of music and community and motivation and team building. I've heard Coca-Cola was attempting to do some stuff early on, but it was really after World War II, a few things happened. musical theater broke out and became a widely popular middle-class form of entertainment. Practically every middle-class household in the country had the My Fair Lady soundtrack, South Pacific, all that. You had long-playing records, finally put a whole show's worth of soundtrack material on one disc. And just the post-war economy was just this roaring furnace, and it needed ways to keep people really psyched up about going into work every day, because selling is difficult. Hank Beebe pounded the pavement in New York trying to sell his songs, and when he started doing industrials, he realized he felt great empathy for these salesmen and distributors and dealers, because they were trying to do a similar thing to what he had done. So it really, several things flowed together by the early 50s to kind of make this really come to life fully.
Good question. Have you been in touch with any of the corporations?
Yes, we have. We had to get permission from a couple of them. They were less resistant than I thought they would be. Mostly the surprising thing, though, is that they didn't save anything. We did go to Coke, Ford, JCPenney. They had a little bit of stuff. Coke gave us like those like to buy the world of Coke things. So that's all they had. Couple
A
of
few
photos.
training films, a few fragments, but nothing really like the full-on stage musical that I was looking for.
So, but they were pretty happy about the film, which was another thing that I was kind of concerned about. And so really they were very helpful. And American Standard is thinking about bringing us to show it to all their people, so that would be really fun.
Yeah, there were some companies that you just hit a brick wall. I did try calling American Standard in the 90s, thinking, what can I find? And they just said, oh, no one around here now even worked here then. And no, apparently the company's been sold and merged and spun off a few times. Nothing from that era survives. And I tried calling Gould, the people with the Gould growing record that you saw. And yeah, I'm looking for a record. No, we're not a record company. Well, I know, but here's the thing. In 1975, you had a meeting with a souvenir album. Oh, we don't make music. We're not a music company. Okay, thank you. So that just wasn't going to get anywhere. But yeah, most of them, Ford and Coke and places like that, they're fascinated by these parts of their own history, which they really had let fall completely into the darkness. And whatever you might think about any individual corporation, it often makes them look pretty good. Like, hey, they've got a soul. They're actually caring about getting their family of employees revved up and all pushed together.
So do you know any more about the casting process, the rehearsal process of some of these?
You had people like, for a while, Pat and Sandy and some of the people from the Bathrooms crew. That was kind of the A-list Chicago crew, and some of the personnel shifted in and out, but certain production companies knew who they wanted, and they would just pick up the phone and say, hey, can you do the Singer Sewing Machine show in April? And all right, we'll book you for that. A lot of the same people keep turning up again and again. Sometimes new people come in, people leave, people move. People sometimes graduate to actual Broadway. That happened quite a bit. People like Hal Linden. It varied. I think some of the shows were very fast, how they put them together.
They would have like 2 weeks sometimes, not even 2 weeks to rehearse, maybe a week sometimes.
I remember Pat or Sandy said the first rehearsal for the Bathrooms Are Coming was December 24th, 1968. The live show was January 6th and January 9th. Vegas and Atlanta. So some of these things really were slammed together quickly, and you have to be a very adept performer who can soak up the material very quickly, ideally be a triple threat, sing, dance, act, work well with the people. That's why they kept coming back to their favorites and their veterans. You were really a sort of a rapid deployment force being sent out on the road to Vegas or the Bahamas or whatever. Just get this thing done and then move on to the next one.
But it went to your actor's equity pension in New York, at least. So.
Yeah, you got great money working for these things, and were treated very well. First class travel and hotels and all that.
So, Dave, as the director and editor, how were you shaping this story? How close in contact were you with Steve?
Well, I didn't actually know if Steve would be the one carrying the film, really. I mean, we did know that his emotional connection to these people was really important to us, but for a second, we kind of thought this would be about corporate America, and we'd kind of be going through the decades of these shows. And, we tried a little bit of that. We had interviewed experts and historians, and
Cut them right out.
and I just really didn't want to do kind of an educational didactic thing. And he ended up being so strong and so connected to them that it was really, there was no kind of choice. We were gonna show his arc following these people and kind of changing through the process.
But so much of what happened, we had no idea of in 2014 when you first started. Certainly we didn't know at the very beginning that Dave Letterman was going to retire. I didn't know that I was going to go have this magical meeting with Pat where Sandy would show up, and then we were going to go find Sid, and then this wonderful day with Sid, and then Sid's health declined and he's gone, and the family asks me to speak at his memorial. I mean, none of that was on anyone's radar when the first day you set up a camera.
Thank you very much to Steve Young, Dava Whisenant, and Ozzy Inguanzo.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.